was that?
Bang on them, or drop the cats down and disconnect them from the vehicle completely, and just let the manifold run wide open and see if it runs better.
Okay, we'll do that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I had a an issue like that before where we had to drop the cats or had to use a back pressure gauge. I have a Thexton back pressure
I'm curious
gauge.
about that short you made about the cats going out on the Super Duties.
Yeah, just mistakenly, what's going on, everybody? Mistakenly got another one today too. This one was an ambulance, a 22 ambulance with 3,300 miles on it, and it needs a set of cats, kitty cats. I don't know what's going on with them.
'Cause when I was
3,300 miles. What happened?
3,300 miles. I don't know.
when I was plowing snow in the 7.3, one of my guys was like, man, your truck smells like it's running hot. And I'm sitting here thinking like, man, this is a gasser. I'm telling you, it does smell funny. Like it just smells hot. You can smell something. It's the engine running.
3,300 miles.
Man,
Who was that?
I don't know.
That was me.
Somebody playing the stream, and you could hear it.
That was me. I hadn't turned it down.
yeah, you could just smell it. And I'm thinking this thing smells more than a diesel. It smells like it's doing a regen.
Yeah.
Cats will smell like that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I had that fucking town car come back after 6 alternators. It came back again. The guy said the charge light came on, the battery, and I'm running the battery dead. And then once it got back to the dealer, I jump started it and went right back to normal, charging just completely fine. I'm so tired of this kind of crap, man.
Why don't you try like an aftermarket, like a performance aftermarket alternator?
That's what I told the customer we need to do. You need to put like a 200 amp Crown Vic alternator on it instead of a 130 amp factory, or have somebody build one for you. Like they'll actually, like you can order one built custom for your car and same housing and everything. It could be like a 240 amp if you want it or whatever, or more. So that's what he's looking for. He's going to look for a 200 amp Crown Vic alternator and put on it.
Man, that's complicated.
Yeah.
DS, what's that behind you?
That's my 6.2.
No, it's not a 23 though. Oh, 23. Looking fly behind Cody. Like that grill. I don't know. I'm starting to grow on it. I'm starting to, although we're not able to see it in person just yet. How would you like to go through the owner's manual? We got a bunch of new stuff.
Hell, we could go through the workshop manual too.
I would love to see that.
The workshop manual. Let's take a gander here at what should we do for. Let's do the workshop manual first. I think that would be.
There's some cool pictures in there.
When you get a chance to look at the owner's manual, flip to that section that Cody showed, that Cody sent me a picture of, because it spells out exactly what I've been telling people to do with resetting the BMS. The exact steps are right in that owner's manual. Finally, the same wording and verbiage that I used it in the owner's manual the same exact way.
We got the screen share on there, CP. So
I seen that and I immediately sent it to Rich. I was like, Rich is gonna be happy.
Finally, they're telling people how to do it without waiting 8 hours for the BMS to reset. Now they're actually telling you you can force the reset by doing this.
All right, where do we want to start?
Wow, we got.
Tell me where to go.
We have.
Nice.
I can't believe it's not in color
right there. Looks
What
nice.
I mean, should it be? Is it right for us to start at the high output stuff? Being that
you don't feel like a high output individual? Are you feeling like a little 1.0 liter EcoBoost and like a Fiesta? Is that what you're feeling right now?
I'm feeling like a water cooled turbo.
I mean,
you got your Banky?
Here we go. We can start right here.
Yeah, this is what I was going to talk about. The Aquarians unite. The new network that we have going on in these new 23s is called a TRON, and that's an abbreviation, and it stands for the Trusted Real-Time Operation Network. And this is a lot to do with cyber security protocol kind of stuff and how all of the vehicle's communications are networked, and then ultimately is going to have to be going back to the mothership so that everybody knows what level every module's at and the blah blah blah, all the ones and zeros. So
And
Back to the
Um,
mothership.
these are all the modules that play on the Tron network, so it's gonna be real hard for people to do things that they're doing now.
So
I
when you say
agree.
mothership, are you talking about like over the air?
It goes
the-
right back to Ford Motor Company, DS.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
mhm.
Oh, no.
So this
And-
is a point where the vehicle, I mean, we thought FordPass was something because they can see certain stuff, fuel level, you know, stuff like that, maintenance.
Well, that's
But
part of one of the
now-
reasons why the guys, the Super Duty guys and stuff, they didn't want to register with FordPass because some of them were like, so wait a second, if I don't register with FordPass, you don't keep track of what's going on with my vehicle. Correct. Because whenever you come in and we look on your PTS account and we go to Oasis and we look at connected data, if you
Mhm.
haven't registered FordPass, it says no data is available because it's not tracking your
Yep.
vehicle. So even though you have the TCU and FordPass and all that, you can actually stop it from tracking everything that's going on by not registering FordPass to begin with. And a lot of these guys were like, "Oh man, great! I'm never going to register that because I don't want people watching me." Is that
Well,
the
the
case now with
FBI
Tron? You know, how's
The
that?
FBI can turn on your FordPass if you don't register it. Now, what if your TCU is not? What if your TCU is bricked?
What if you unplug your TCU? You're not going to get any type of warnings. You're just not going to be able to have any over-the-air updates or any FordPass function.
But maybe not possible with this new Tron.
Yeah, what if it's just programmed to lock out and not function if the TCU is disconnected? I mean, it seems like they're putting a lot of engineering into making sure that Ford can monitor what the vehicle's doing.
Right there,
And
where he was
so to be able to defeat it so easily by unplugging something, you think they would have
on the bottom.
they consider
What,
that.
what does it say right there? The TCU shares a backup of all trusted real-time operation network. So if
Mhm.
the TCU is not online, it can't share the information on the Tron.
Correct.
But if the Tron
the vehicle shouldn't be inoperative.
right,
But if it keeps doing that, you think it'll brick it at some point?
or maybe they'll say, well, if I don't know,
Well,
maybe if you
basically what Tron is a bunch of security keys that the gateway module hands out. And
Mhm.
if you don't connect to the security key, if they don't see the security keys, you ain't nothing happening.
You ain't getting in.
Mhm.
You ain't
So
getting
it's-
in.
so it's like Chrysler and what Alfa Romeo started doing with their security gate on the OBD connector. If you don't have access to
Yep.
handshake with a security key, you can't talk to the vehicle.
Yep.
Chrysler
And
did that too.
this is put in at the end of production, and it sends to the data at Ford.
I want to
Because-
see a lot of guys were tripping over the generator
I
for
was.
1401. The where was it? Right there.
What the actual?
Oh, that was the auxiliary batteries, which was news to me. We have 2 batteries inside the truck now, 2 batteries and the inverter. If you guys
Here's to the-
saw where DS put his inverter in the back of his 450, it's in the same location in the back of the truck. But here, right
That's
here,
where the batteries are.
that's where the secondary generator would usually go. But now we have this
24-volt generator.
Yep.
Oh, it's at 24 volts. Okay.
mhm.
So my question was, when I was looking at these, I'm looking at the alternators. You get the dual alternator, you can go to 410 amps. But when you go for the generator, you cannot get the dual alternator.
Yeah,
But
because
I'm
it
the kinda
sits in the
guy-
alternator.
I'm the kind of guy that likes a 410 amp alternator. So giving up that, you end up with the generator. So I'm gonna have to be counting on the one alternator, which is probably what, 200 amps?
Using
I don't-
FDRS, configure the generators. What the? That's
But
crazy.
so the generator is probably only gonna power those 120 volt outlets in the bed and in the cab of the truck, I would imagine.
Basically what this is, it charges the auxiliary batteries to run the pure sine wave 200K inverter to run your
Okay.
plugs,
Okay,
2000K.
so
2000.
now with that system, is there any way for us to know what amperage the single alternator comes with?
I don't know if it said that on there. Go to, we don't have ECAD up yet, don't worry.
Because Ford has a 240 amp, which they usually don't run in their diesels because you can get dual alternators in a diesel. So maybe that single alternator is more than just a 200 amp.
Wrong one.
Uh,
You called that generator 24 volts. So is it just making 24 volts DC?
Yes,
And then I'm
Dang.
wondering, so the batteries, are they 12 volt batteries that are
They're
arranged?
two 12 volts in series.
Okay, all right. So then why not just use a 12 volt sine inverter and just run the dual alternators?
I don't
Because if
know.
you run a 12 volt system, at 12 volts, you need a significantly thicker copper lead, which would be real expensive. As the voltage goes higher, the thickness and the gauge of the wire can be thinner. So
all right, that
24
looks like
volts,
Yeah.
7.3,
can probably be half as thick on the wiring. But
6,
a
8,
2K inverter needs probably like 2-aught wire or
6,
something crazy
7.
on a 12 volt system.
I
Oh,
mean,
wow,
I
heavy
wouldn't
duty
think
alternate,
that
dual
the
heavy.
6 or 8 feet that you need would, have to warrant 0 gauge wire. Yeah, you think you
12
get away with
volt
a decent
systems
sized
are
wire.
very picky. 12 volt systems are very picky with
And
wire
of course they
configuration.
don't.
Okay,
Of course they don't say the output either.
But think about an extension cord. You could run so much more power through an extension cord because it's 120 volts. You don't need all the gauge.
Do
But at 12
specifications, Cody.
How about power strips?
What'd you say?
What's it say? Go to your local parts, what?
How about power
Parts
strips?
catalog.
Yeah.
Crying out loud.
Oh man, I love it.
Access denied.
So this is gonna be a pretty big, a deal, for a lot of guys who use their trucks, as intended out in the field. It's
I
almost
would be
comparable
I'd
to
be
your
curious.
power boost. What's your power boost put out?
7 kilowatts.
I'm gonna make one of those. I want that in my truck.
Cody, go to
Oh, right.
shopping
You
cart.
have to see. You got to
Go to
see the one
shopping
I
cart
posted.
one time.
Pretty
See if
sweet.
it shows up in there.
2 kilowatts. Oh, yours is 7. Okay, that's,
I
Yeah,
wonder if
this-
it can run with the engine off.
yeah, but it said you'd only get 1,500 if you were, if you were idling, and then 2,000 if you were driving?
It's 2000 idle, 1500 while driving.
Other way around, okay.
So
So what are
that's
we
where it's
running on
mounted.
2,000 watts? What are we running?
I mean, you can run a refrigerator, my computer setup, some other stuff.
Yeah, I could run my whole house, like all the creature comforts, with 2,000 watts.
You think so?
Refrigerator
Yeah.
lights, internet, one TV, and the overhead ceiling fan.
Wow, okay.
I ran.
Kind of put
the
that in
place-
perspective.
Yep.
Like what you did during the hurricane.
Yeah, that's what I did during the hurricane. I ran this place off 2,000 watts
That's awesome.
until I needed the well. Then I started up the generator and then fired up the freezer and stuff and everything else that drew a bunch of power. Ran the generator for an hour or so every day and just, ran a load of laundry or whatever, that kind of stuff. And then, once all the big consumables were done, I shut the generator off and went back to the inverter that was hooked up to my truck.
I'd
Yeah, I
like to see
mean,
it in action. I had
they had the-
commented. Good.
I was going to say they had to get the voltage up higher. So they had to make the system stand alone from the 12 volt system in the truck.
Holy for holies.
Oh, yeah.
But it is gonna be a system, like if you don't plug nothing in there, it's gonna be a system that don't really, it does, I'm wondering, does that thing have a clutch on it? That generator?
Yeah, I want to know if you can disengage that so it's not always running, kind of like a PTO.
Right, right, because then you'd be just having this unnecessary drag on
Yeah.
the engine. But didn't we assume that we weren't gonna get the generator if you didn't get the high output? That's like, it's only gonna come on the high output?
No, you can get it either way.
That
Look at
looks
that.
like a clutch on that one.
It looks like there's a clutch on it, but can't really
It
tell.
looks like there's a clutch drive on that one, but if you look at the other
How many
one, it looks
electrical
like it's going
connectors we got going to it? Just an alternator, like,
Yeah, it's
Huh.
just an older. Look, battery monitor sensor.
yeah. That's right up Ford boss's alley right there. I wonder
Yeah.
if your little trick will be able, your little brake tap dance and the headlights and the whatever, turn signal and the flash.
In the owner's manual that where Cody showed me, it says in there that you can reset the BMS that way, and now they finally spell it out the same way that I was spelling it out.
Here's your load shed.
So that is
Stuff.
kind of cutting, that's cutting into your 12-volt capabilities then,
Dual generators.
depending on what you are running on your 12-volt system.
What's this
You
say?
start
Keeps the
running them.
secondary generator in a standby state. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't
I didn't know
field,
that.
if you don't put a field to the windings, it's not gonna make electricity. So it's just gonna kind of spin.
Unless what it say, notice unless the battery is being replaced, do not reset the battery monitor
The
system
generator
using the
clutches.
diagnostic scan tool. This reset is reserved for new battery installation only. This reset will clear the learned battery data, the battery time in service, and will affect the aging algorithm parameters which have been learned since the installation of the battery. Now, there are some instances where you have to make that call yourself, even though they're saying don't do that. If you have something on the fritz or something gets disabled because it's trying to protect the charging system or the load shed is too fast, you may fix a problem and end up having to reset the BMS to get everything to come back online properly. So
Look at the bottom. See where it says the clutch? That answered your question right there. You were right.
There is a clutch.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Generator clutch, serve separately, primary functions. There you go.
Dang.
So
And
does
now-
this system power anything inside of the cab? Does it share, or does it carry any of the load of anything else? Because
would be nice to know.
plow guys, we are worried about, all right, we're gonna put a heavy plow in the truck, we're gonna start moving the plow around, and your heat's gonna start turning off, and your, accessories may start turning off.
And you're gonna run dual generators instead of a 24 volt and a 12 volt.
Right,
Greta
maybe-
loves the new generator. That's funny.
Maybe the dual alternator is still gonna be the way to go for a plow truck.
I mean, I don't see why you would need a 2000 watt generator for a plow truck.
Right.
You could probably get away with just using the regular inverter that would normally come with them.
Right.
So here's our HO turbocharger.
Oh, let me go back. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, wow.
With secondary cooling system.
Ooh.
Water cooled.
Oh, we have two coolant lines going to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
the compressor
wow.
side's water cooled.
No kid. I didn't notice that. I like the different colored pictures. That really helped. Point that out. So we got the stock one, same old, but on the passenger side of it, we got two quick disconnects. All right.
Same amount of power.
Nothing
30
real.
pounds of boost at 130,000 RPM. The turbocharger uses a ball bearing cartridge that surrounds the turbocharger shaft to help provide and decrease in spool uptime. Separate oil and water feeds flow through the turbo to lubricate and cool the turbo and eliminate as many external connections as possible.
What else?
What
else?
about, let's go back to the owner's manual. Remember we were talking about what it said about the winter grill covers? I get asked about that when it gets this time of year on what do you recommend to put on the front of your truck? I did a short asking if you guys put this Hannibal Lecter type material looking on the front of your truck, and it looks as though that they're going to start to offer a supplemental winter cover that's going to go across the front of the grill. Hold on, where was it here? We're looking it up right now.
Yeah, there it is.
All
Winter
right,
precautions.
if equipped, zoom in a little bit. There we go. The winter grill cover enhances heater performance and will reduce the amount of time it takes to warm the inside of your vehicle in extremely cold conditions below blank. So
Have
right
you
there,
had that issue with your truck?
no. The grill cover must be installed in extremely cold temperatures below 10 degrees to prevent possible engine damage. Okay.
Here's the guidelines of using it.
So winter grill cover should only be used while operating your vehicle in extremely cold temperatures or in heavy snow for extended periods of time in these temperatures. If the vehicle does not need a large amount of air to properly cool the engine during periods the operation and more airflow is required to cool the vehicle, the winter grill cover should not be used. So you're going to have to pay attention to what is happening outside and whether or not you're going to be a candidate for that. Do not use the cover when temperatures are above 50. Use of the cover can cause your vehicle to overheat. Well, I guess that's a given. Do not use the cover above 32 degrees, only if you're towing a trailer. Your vehicle may overheat. One of the things I was talking about earlier this week was the little tiny heater, the little tiny radiator that is on the 450s, right between the tow hooks. I think a lot of guys maybe forget that there's an extra radiator there. And in fact, DS, when we were putting his plow on, what would we have to do with that? We were walking around it, having to disconnect it, and
There's a different
little
plow
shimmy.
mount and stuff.
Hey, look at that right there.
You see that,
That
DS?
Cody, look at
Look
that
at
right
it.
there that Cody
See what?
just highlighted. The breaking in procedure. Guys ask me about that all the time.
Yep.
And I
Now they're
always ask
telling
them,
us.
did you look at your owner's manual? Some people say it's not in there. I've looked everywhere. What it says right there, your vehicle
Breaking
requires a
in.
break-in period for the first 1,000 miles. Avoid driving at high speeds, heavy braking, aggressive shifting, or using your vehicle to tow. During this time, your vehicle may exhibit unusual driving characteristics. At the end of that 1,000 miles is when I typically tell people, even though they don't want to hear it, please change your oil at that period before you go to a normal driving OCI.
I like it. I don't think I've seen it right in there, breaking in. I think a lot of guys, especially when they're thinking about hauling, like, do I not do it? Do I do it?
When we're talking on the topic of that grill guard for the cold weather, I've never had my diesel truck not being able to warm up in the cold.
Have
As
you
long as
guys
you
seen
plug it in overnight and all that good stuff, it always would be okay getting warmed up. Now the 7.3 on the other hand, freaking runs cold. It has a hard time warming up. And then if you're driving it in this cold weather, it'll make heat out of the vents, but the gauge won't get in operating temperature.
You see that there was a section that he panned over with a key. It had a flip key. I've noticed about the last, half a dozen flip keys, brand new out of the pack. Even the brand new one I just got from my F-150, they are malfunctioning right out of the pack.
Dang.
The keys are not wanting to flip all the way open. They get jammed up. The customers are complaining about them. Like, you guys just programmed new keys to my truck and it's already malfunctioning. And I haven't had the thing just a day or two, and it's getting stuck inside the fob. And then I ordered one from my truck because I wanted an extra key, and it's doing the same thing, brand new. And it's been doing it since I bought it.
I think that key's a bad design. I really like the steel bodies, the 11 through 16, one key. The buttons are all in the key. This is it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have, it's smaller than if you just had a 20 or a 17 and up push button key fob.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of that. I think it could have
Mine
been
sticks
better.
every now and then.
Kick the cat.
Hmm.
Open the door first.
Sharing a digital key. That's new. I haven't seen that. You can share your key to other
No, Lauren.
other users
door.
on the owner's phone by using
Shoot her
Apple.
out. Yeah.
That's
I don't know,
pretty crazy. Tap your key card.
Oh,
Locating key readers. That's crazy. It's like
But
going
Lincoln,
into a
I
hotel
think-
room.
Lincoln's been doing that, I think, for a few years earlier. Normally, Lincoln has that
Mm.
technology out a little bit earlier than Ford, but
Yeah.
even one of the earlier model aviators I worked on that was having some malfunctions where I had to go through and fix a big engineering fiasco when they had an engineer screw up that aviator I was working on, and I had to bring everything back online. One of the options that kept setting a code was you don't have the parameters set for the third key. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is a third key? And I'm fishing through the computer and I'm reading all this stuff, and it says you have to disable the third key if you don't have your phone programmed to the vehicle as a third option key. And I didn't know that. So I had to go through the computer system and turn that off so it would stop setting that error code for the third key.
I'm looking here. I know I saw something in about using your phone as a key and having some type of security card. Let me go back here.
Now we were talking about this recently, Aaron, and I think you and DS were talking about it more than anybody else, because I think DS or you were saying, I don't know what it was, but Krauser's truck, when he brought it out to me, and that 30 amp fuse blew in the fuse box for the marker lights back there to the trailer.
Yep.
I couldn't really see anything wrong with it. And I told him while he, over the phone, I said, hey, check that fuse in the fuse box. And it was dark. It was late. I don't think he could quite see what was going on. But sure enough, when he brought the truck out to me, it was the 30 amp fuse that was blown. And I just put a new one in it because I couldn't really see anything that was wrong with the truck.
That's crazy.
And I gave him a few extras just in case it happens to him again. But I told him, I said, well, why don't you drive around the parking lot a few times? I think it was DS or Aaron that said, you got to have, like, after you start the truck up and start driving, don't you have to have like a certain amount of like distance driven and at least one braking event before it starts turning on your 12-volt circuit for your
okay.
like
Are you talking
power
about
wire
marker
back to your
light?
trailer?
Charger to the back of the trailer.
Yeah, the charger.
They're giving you oil temp now.
Ooh, really?
Well, at least in
I've
this picture.
seen-
That looks like the F-150 dash.
That's kind of cool.
Well, I mean, the IP looks just like an F-150.
I like the
It
tag. Yeah, it
You can
does.
change it too.
Oh,
Well,
like
that's-
the setup?
Rich, I've
Yeah.
seen both. I've seen both ways where you have to drive it a little and have a brake application. I remember reading that, but on at least on my 22, when you start the vehicle, you're supposed to have 12 volts at the 7-way for the charging.
I don't think he
circuit.
did. When I put I have a trailer connector now that gives you all the indications that your circuit is good and it flashes with everything. I ordered it just specifically for Krautzer's truck, but I was gonna like use it for other applications as well. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a nicer one instead of this cheap one that I had. So I bought like a $35 one that I could actually monitor the lights and stuff on while you were put your turn signal on, your brakes, make sure you had I think it said something about TCU power. It was able to indicate that everything was powered up, but I could not receive a 12-volt charge signal back there.
Okay.
Even after the fuse.
Yeah, even after the fuse, I was like, I wonder if there has to be a load here, if it actually has to see the trailers plugged in order for it to give it that power back there instead of just a small tester.
I think he's been
So-
fine since then though, right?
Yeah, I think he's been fine since then. He hasn't said anything about it, but I don't know that he's actually had an opportunity to tow anything with that since then.
I think some of the years might be different. I remember reading what you were saying in the manual in this whatever PTS page, that it needs to be driven and have a brake application because the trailer detection is actually done through the braking circuit. When it sends a signal down the blue wire, which would be the braking circuit, it sends a test signal to the actual trailer brakes. And then that's
Look at
why when you
this.
plug it in, what's that?
They're gonna give you how much watt or how much wattage you're actually using
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. On the inverter?
Ooh.
on
Right on
the
the
instrument
infotainment?
panel. Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
What
and
is
the instrument
utility
panel.
idle mode? Allows you to remove key from the ignition to keep the vehicle embed PowerPoint running.
wow.
That's
Now, can it
interesting.
run with the engine? Will the engine cycle or will the engine just run? And
Yes.
use those batteries?
It'll probably cycle.
Look at it, it's
Probably,
pretty
huh?
easy too. Selecting the steps right there for the utility idle mode. That's dummy proof right there. It's
No,
pretty
that
Wow.
kind of makes the kit, that makes it worth it at this point.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
I like that.
Walk-
Well, another thing is these diesels, being that they're direct injected and all that, they idle real efficient. They don't take a ton of fuel to idle or even run at a very light load. So let's say you had to use your generator overnight to power your house in an event of a power outage. You're not going to burn a lot of fuel doing that. It's going to use minimum amount of fuel.
Whoa,
You
what the
might-
hell was that?
The workstation. I mean, my buddy Mike used his 3-liter to power his house during your guys' last power outage thing up there in Michigan.
He probably, I mean, how much fuel did he go through?
Not much. He went through
Well,
more
there's that.
DEF than fuel.
There was that guy with the power boost that did the same thing. He hooked it up outside of his garage and he had it hooked up to the main connection outside of his garage. And then he ran the front end of his house off of his power boost. And he said it wouldn't even kick on that much. It'd kick on enough to get things charging. And then it'd shut off and it'd run in the off position for a while. And then when it detected there was so much load shed, it'd fire back up. And he said the truck did everything on its own. I didn't have to do anything. I almost lost no fuel at all.
Oh, here we go.
Refilling.
Here's
Fuel
everything.
quality. Don't forget about
Right
fuel
here.
quality.
Here it is. For anyone that gets ping in their 5-liters, it's right in the damn workshop or right in the owner's manual.
Oh, you're talking about the ping in the 5 liters?
Yep.
Well, what does it say? It's so small, I can't see it.
For best overall vehicle and engine performance, premium fuel with octane rating of 91 or higher is recommended. Don't be concerned with the engine sometimes knocks slightly. However, if the engine knocks heavily while using fuel, the recommended octane rating, contact authorized dealer to prevent engine damage. Okay, like I'm gonna go speak some magical freaking words to the engine and tell them to stop knocking because it's unhappy with the octane level.
Ding, ding, ding,
I mean,
ding.
maybe you'll test it. Maybe you'll test the octane so we all know.
You know, test it
But-
by draining and taking it to shell and putting more octane in it. Test it.
My question is, does the average owner understand what the correct knock is or too much knock? Do they even know?
No, they don't. They don't.
To be
They'll come
honest,
in
I've never
and
heard
saying,
a fuel knock.
they'll come in saying all kind of crazy stuff, and most of the time it's like, what type of fuel do you use? Oh, 87. Well, this is the third gen. It's freaking what is the third gen? 13-to-1 or something like that? 12-to-1, 12-to-1, 12-to-1 compression, and you're running 87. You can't control all timing. I don't care. The smartest systems in the world are still going to have some kind of noise trying to control 12-to-1 compression running 87. It's not
I'd
a
like
bright
to know
idea.
what it sounds like.
That
I've
F-150
never-
that I did the valve cover on the VCT
Uh-huh.
solenoid, when I was standing out there, I forgot to plug the fuel temp sensor back in. But he was like, "Hey man, what's that knocking noise under there?" I said, what grade gas do you run?" He was like, 87. I was like, "Run some 93 in this thing and it'll go away." And sure enough, he came back today. He was like, "It went down, it got a little bit quieter." He's like, "I didn't know it did that." But
So here's all your messages for the DPF.
Mm-hmm. Big ones right here.
Mm.
Your diesel particulate filter is clean. Exhaust filter drive complete.
Is the DPF the same?
Yeah.
Different.
Oh, you mean,
We can go talk about that.
yeah,
Different
that,
now?
oh, it's a complete
Oh,
complete
no.
disaster. And now
Oh,
instead of
no.
having the post injection like we've been accustomed to, we now actually have what they call a diesel secondary injector, DSI, and it's located right where the DEF injector is now. But now you're going to ask yourself, well, hey, where did they put the DEF injector? The DEF injector is now in the downpipe. So it's definitely going to be some changes.
Yeah, right
Well, I
there's the
guess
DIS.
The theory behind that is they're thinking maybe it's going to be better to not have the cylinders pump that fuel through the injectors.
That
and
is
go through the
the,
motor.
From it, though.
here we can go.
So
This is
more-
a better
gonna be
view.
better- Is that going to be better for the engine in theory?
Theory, yeah, because you're not post injecting. So here's what it looks like now.
Look at that thing.
Wow.
Look how big that catalyst is. Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say, you guys, I have to do this. I've been holding my tongue for months. I'm really glad I got an 07.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, I just gotta get that out there. I just gotta say it. I'm sorry, but
No.
I mean, I'm looking at this monstrosity. I'm like, man, it's come a long way.
It costs. It probably costs more than like a 5-liter motor to have a
Oh,
DPF.
dude. That's without a doubt, dude.
Man.
Like it's a whole nother motor in cost. It's like throw another
Here
motor
we
up
go.
under there. As far as
Ouch.
how much it costs.
So we have 1, 2,
A lot.
3 Knox modules now.
How much is that?
Hey, did Ford have a run of Knox modules that just failed all the time?
You know, that's funny you say that because I had a rash of them, like 12, 13, that just for whatever reason, just took a dump.
Look, the
Yeah.
cabin chassis separated.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, it is.
I did notice that the
Hmm.
other day. Okay, now that's interesting. Now, why wouldn't they want to do that for the pickup?
Because I'm assuming that they're probably replacing more torpedoes on the cabin chassis than the pickups.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
It
probably
could be
more-
for outfitting too. The way that those cabin chassis get outfitted, that might,
Yeah.
they may take it out. Who knows?
maybe the cabin chassis fell more under warranty on Ford's bill, where
Especially ambulances.
the pickup
Yeah.
trucks fell more under the consumer bill. So if it's going to fail for the consumer has to turn around and purchase an entire system out of warranty.
Hey, man,
Versus-
DS, you can't be saying stuff like that,
Serious,
man.
DS is sleepy.
Sleepy DS.
Hey, Eric,
DS is woke right now.
Yeah.
Look where they put the glow plug module. Where's the
you
glow
got
plug module on the Lumina duties?
you got an intake for a 6.2
there.
2018?
Right there.
I have a core that I'm trying to buy right now. It'll have an intake on it, but I can't tell you if it's gonna be good or not. I'll know tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna shoot you an email and then
Yeah, you should.
Let's
Yeah.
let's just
Yeah,
put it
you-
like this.
Email me and I'll
It's-
know tomorrow. I'm supposed to go pick up a whole round of cores, so
it's for
It's such a
2018. It's for that
commodity.
one from last week.
yeah.
It's on intergalactic back order, and the customer's like, if you can find me a used one, please.
Yeah, I mean, all I can do is let you know. Half the time when they tell me these engines are complete, I show up and it's like no valve covers, upside down in the rain with no intake on it.
Yeah.
So you
right,
never
I'll
A
really
bunch
know.
of color pictures.
I'll shoot you an email this evening.
Oh,
That
look,
works.
we still have a CP4.
Yep, anytime.
Looks identical.
Let's read the description and op and see if they've changed anything.
Looks identical.
Hydraulic coupler.
Ray, don't you talk to the car you work on? I talk to the car I work on.
Yeah,
You have to.
you do. You really do.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Aaron.
you have to ask it nicely. Sometimes you have to threaten it.
Sometimes you have to
say
sing
stuff
to it.
like-
Yeah,
say
sometimes
stuff
you gotta
like-
sing. Yeah.
This last one I worked on, I said, I'm gonna buy you so I can buy you and then I can destroy you. So if you want me to do that, go ahead and you just keep failing. But turn your freaking light off right now so I can send you back home to your owner, or else I'm gonna take you apart and give you to I do cars.
I'll
Ed-
smash it with the loader.
I had a 68 Mustang when I was 18, and it would cut off on me at red lights all the time. And like to get it to start back up, I'd have to rub the steering wheel and sing to it, and it started up every time.
Listen to this guy, this voodoo motherfucker.
I never
I
figured
cuss
out
out-
why it stalled though. I never figured out why it would do it.
I cuss out my BMW wagon every single morning. I've got a hatch harness problem, and at random, at some point on my drive to work, I'll hit the brake pedal and the hatch popped. And it's just the glass. Thankfully, it's not the whole thing opening up, but it makes you mad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like back in the day, you smack the dash and the CD comes flying out of the dash,
Or,
out of the CD
or
player.
all the GM gauges start working again, you know.
What is
Or
that?
if you're in a Dodge truck and your hand goes through the
Is
dash.
that our turbo?
That
What
doesn't
is
happen.
that?
No,
You're
Aaron,
just-
but the dash is already completely fallen apart and it's got a skin on it now. So it doesn't look like anything's wrong with it anymore. So you don't have that problem.
Aaron,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
our diesel tech had a fuel system failure today. The CP4 went out, right?
Uh-huh.
You know what the customer asked?
What?
Can you just flush it out for me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Doesn't quite work like that.
it was
Anybody
like
know a P007D code? Oof. I don't think I've had that one.
Sounds familiar.
Listen to this, Cody. Put this in your bank, and you other Ford techs as well. So check engine Chuck, he reaches out to me off of TikTok and he says, "Hey, I got it's like a 17 or 18 Interceptor, like Taurus, right? It's a show." And he says, "I've got misfiring on 4, 5, and 6 under heavy boost load." He says, "What could it be?" And I said, "Well, what's been done to it?" And he says, "Well, they've changed like almost everything, plugs, coils, all this stuff." I said, what coils are on it?" And he says, "It's MSD coils." And I said, "Look, dude, I understand people like MSD, but if you go talk to most engine builders and stuff, or tuners and stuff like that, they'll tell you to run OE plugs and OE ignition coils for some reason. The last 2 tuners I went to for work, they both said, we won't touch it unless you put OE coils and OE plugs in it. I said, I don't want to tell you that's the problem, but I don't like aftermarket coils and weird plugs and all this other stuff unless a guy has actually blueprinted that engine for this stuff and tested it out." So I said, "I can't really help you much right now without looking at it." So he says, like cats, I think cats and everything have been done on this thing. Diesel Tech Chris calls him up and talks to him. Diesel Tech Chris says, "Look, man, I know this is a shot in the dark, but back in the day, we had a high pressure pump fail for the high pressure fuel system, and it sent some metal shavings into the fuel system. and it was partially plugging up the inlet to one of the ports to the injectors. And under load, it sounds the same thing that you're dealing with right now. Sure as shit, Chuck pulls everything apart, pulls the inlet from the high pressure fuel pump off to the fuel rail, and there's shavings right in the top of it. And as the car's running normal under regular boost and stuff like that, it wasn't enough to restrict the fuel to cause a misfire. But under heavy load and heavy boost, it was enough to stop a certain amount of fuel from getting into there, and that bank would misfire. When he pulled the lines off, both fuel rails had metal shavings in the end of it, and that fixed the problem.
Wow. He's lucky he didn't break it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy though how. Go ahead.
I just said navigation fault just says navigation is not functioning properly. 18 Super Duty. Any advice? I had to replace the APIM.
APIM.
Yep.
It could be one of the, and I don't want to say this out of like super confidence, but it could be one of the satellite connections on top of the truck or wherever that's mounted. Something could be cracked or water could be in it, and it could be taking out the GPS. If you hit, you can do some diagnostics through the actual cluster itself or through the interface itself by hitting the eject button and seek right, and it will pull up the diag through the screen, and then you could actually pull up your satellite signal to see, are you getting satellites online for your GPS stuff? And if you're not, and everything is just black, it's either an APIM problem, a wiring problem to the GPS antenna, or the antenna itself is cracked and there's water or something in the base.
Let's go back to this owner's manual really quick.
I just had one that did that, Aaron, and it was there was a crack through the Sirius antenna and the GPS antenna. Both of them were cracked open because of how it looked like it was run up underneath something and cracked both the antennas on top of the truck, like a transport or something didn't.
You talking about the APIM?
GPS offline or GPS or navigation not available, something like that.
Yeah, I had one of those with the Ghostbuster symbol. Mine ended up being the APIM though.
Yep.
I've done a bunch of them for APIM, but I've done a handful of them for the actual GPS antenna being cracked and taking down the navigation and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of new stuff on this.
Driving through water limitations. Do not attempt to cross a deep, fast-flowing body of water. Failure to follow this instruction could result in loss of control of your vehicle, personal injury, or death. Determine the depth and speed of the current before attempting a water crossing. This is not the Oregon Trail. As the water depth increases, reduce your vehicle speed to avoid potential vehicle damage. The key to a safe crossing is water depth, current, and the bottom of the water's condition.
Yeah, so go jump out there, just go out there and stand in it and kind of get a feel for how fast it's moving past your leg and how deep it is on your body, and then go back to your truck and say, look, truck, this is what we got to do.
Yeah, right.
Adapt.
We got electronic parking brakes on this.
Really?
Ooh,
Okay.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, here's what we need to talk about. We need to talk about the diesel engine brake.
Oh, yes. Yes.
They give you a lot of information in this manual compared to older manuals.
Oh, jeez. Stop it.
Saying it, Cody.
He's showing the wife
All
unit over there.
right.
So somebody asked about her, and I was like, all right, she's right there.
My partner's right here. How's the channel coming along over there?
Mine.
Yeah,
It's good.
blowing up.
Well, kind of. I mean, thanks to Ray, it's a lot of his followers.
It's not thanks to me. I just told them you were there, and they like your face.
Well, I don't think they like my face. I think they like.
No,
that-
you're a sweetheart.
No, I
They-
think they like that I'm wholesome,
I like your face.
and So I'm like scratching my armpit. I'm sorry. I'm wholesome. I think they like that I'm a family girl and I'm, you know,
The front office lady, come on.
I know. So I'm getting embarrassed.
I'll take you off TV.
That's funny.
We put her on the spot, guys. She did good. She did just fine. We put
I
her on
did
the
do my
spot.
breaks though.
Yeah. See, now you're back.
Nice.
Look at you go. There you go.
I did do my breaks. I have a lot of editing to do because I'm learning how to edit.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
Oh, wow, you did your breaks? That's good.
I did. I finally did. Oh my gosh.
I showed her how to
So-
do one. I showed her how to do one side, and then I just was like, "Here you go," and I walked away and did something else.
No kidding. When you
Yeah,
press the piston back
Left
in.
me to the wolves.
I did.
pretty
I
much,
let her. I let her have it. And I mean, I came by
Wow.
every now and then and double checked, and you know,
Yeah.
kind of steered her on what to do when she got a little stuck. But she did it. I didn't. I kept my hands off. Had to do it.
So
Did
now
you go
that
drink?
you've actually had to have your hands on it, do you have better appreciation for what's happening when you're slowing down?
You know, yeah, it's a lot of heavy work. And you know, when I try to talk while I'm doing the job, and I think like how do you talk and do this at the same time, because it's exhausting. You got to think about what you're saying, and you got to think about what you're doing, and
Yeah.
you got to think about, you know, explaining.
Do
kind
you
of-
have a better understanding on how your car stops now that you did that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
here's an
While all
important
this
thing,
was
too. Here's an important thing too to take away from this though. What you just said is what I feel a lot at work, and I feel like guys that have been in the field for a while sometimes don't understand that. When I'm focused on something, I'm trying to do something, I'm in the middle of it, and I want to be very careful with what I'm doing, and I don't want to have a conversation with somebody because I'm really trying to focus on what I'm doing. They think I'm being a jerk or I'm being mad at them or something like that. And it's like, no,
Yep.
man, sometimes I can't have a conversation with you while I'm doing this. And even I've called Aaron in the middle of him doing something. And he's like, man, I can hear it in his voice. Like, I'm really trying to focus on this right now. It's just kind of bad timing. And we'll get a few words out and be like, look, we'll just talk later, because I could tell already that Aaron's really trying to focus on something.
Yeah.
especially when you're doing an
Hot
engine.
focus. You know,
With
you
the-
think about like
with
when he left me alone to do the other side of my car, and he's like, no, you could do it by yourself. I showed you how to do the first one, you're gonna do the second one. And you know, if you get stuck, let me know. And so I was going through the motions of what to do. And I'm thinking, you know, if someone messes up one little step, that could cost a lot.
Mhm.
And you know, I do appreciate now, after doing it, I do appreciate all the hard work and all the technical difficulties that one, you know, if you get distracted and you miss a step, that can cost a lot on
Mhm.
someone's
Yep.
life even. And
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, I was kind of worried after. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of worried about driving my car after I did my own brakes, because I'm thinking, okay, did I mess up or did I do something wrong?
Mhm.
And
That's a normal feeling. We
Yeah,
all
it's
feel
good.
that.
Every test drive I go on, I'm like, oh, I hope I bolted the tie rods on
Yeah.
this. You know, I go through every single piece that I touched and
Yeah, yeah.
a picture of doing it. It's like you got to check, because you know the scariest thing is you hit a pothole or a bump that you're not used to on a test drive, and it makes some noise. You're like, what happened? Like, what I do? You know, the steering shaft fall off of it. What happened?
I think I would remember, I would say time frame 2005, 2006. Just first starting a 6.0, just did, you know, head gaskets, or had to do bed plate reseal, you know, cab off, engine up, you know, whatever. And, you know, cab's down, I'm filling the fluids up. Oh man, dude, I'm getting, oh my God, dude, fuck, I'm checking the oil one more time. Oh man, dude, I don't feel good, man. I'm trying.
E-turn.
Man, just turn the goddamn key. It's still there, but it's not as bad as it was. I mean, it was something I had to really overcome, because you didn't have confidence in yourself, and you've never done this before, and it's like, do you know what I just had to do this if I have to do it again? Huh? You know, it's like that.
Hey Ray,
I
while
told
all
my-
that was going on, she was doing her breaks. Were you making a fresh cup of coffee?
No.
Funny.
No, actually I was fighting with that hybrid Toyota timing job like pretty bad. I didn't even care about
I felt like an apprentice.
yeah.
You know, he just
I was
left me
I was having
and-
the busy day and I was like, no, you know what to do. Go away. I'm busy.
That thing sounded horrible.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I've done a few of those. They're not that horrible if you know what you're getting into. You know, it's the kind of job you got to prepare your brain to do, and then you just go in there and do it, and you know,
Right.
it's what it is. But yeah, those things that kind of suck.
I remember my first engine. I'm not even gonna tell the whole story. When I went to go start it up, I was like standing in the front of it and I was kind of like doing the air and I was like, oh God. Oh, did I do that? I did that. I did that. And I did that. And my coworker was like, are you gonna start that thing or not? And I was like, can you just come do it for me? Can you just come over and start it for me?
Yeah.
Please?
I think
Please?
I'm
And I'm
guilty of that
like,
too.
And he comes over and fires the thing right up and it just ran beautiful. And he was like, what is your deal, man? If it's gonna break, it's gonna break. There's nothing you can do about it. Just go start it.
It's awful, man. I'm telling you.
When I was young, I used to work on stuff. I did a head job for a friend on a Honda, and it was cold. Like I used to have to work outside. It was freaking cold, man. And there was it's a lot of little things though to that project, and probably any head job. One of the things was you have to lubricate the bolts with oil, with motor oil, and they wanted you to tighten the bolts up, and they also said in the manual that when you tighten them up, they didn't want to hear them cinching. They didn't want to hear like coming on the bolt. They were very clear, like we want a certain sound out of the head bolt when it gets torqued and torque to yield and all this stuff. So
Subaru's
man,
the
I'm
same way.
freezing, cold weather. I mean, like zero degrees Fahrenheit. I get sick working out here on this car. I'm getting like the flu. And I go to start it up, same thing, like, oh man, I hope this starts. Like, I'm so worried. I go to start it, nothing won't start. And it took days and days and days to figure it out. And finally, I figured it out. I had the freaking spark plugs plugged in wrong. Like I was looking at because back in the day, there wasn't no internet. You had to look at a Chilton's,
Yeah.
manual. So I'm looking at the manual and I'm freezing looking at it, and I'm looking at the plugs backwards, and I got 4 and 1 and 1, like it's just all backwards. Man,
But look at this. Yes, look at this. This is what I was talking about that I try to talk to people about. And now all of this stuff is in the freaking manual. This should have been in the manual a long time ago. Like, and if I don't see all of it because I don't read the owner's manual because I got to deal with it hands-on a lot of times. So I already know, but you can see here just with the battery management system alone, it explains it pretty good. And it talks about all the systems that are involved and like some of the stuff that it could possibly shut down if things are starting to go south, or if excessive battery drain is detected, the system temporarily disable some of the electrical systems to protect the batteries, such as the heated rear window, the heated seats, the climate control, the heated steering wheel, the audio unit, the navigation system. And these are the things that I've always told people out. They're like, where's the literature? How come you don't ever show us? I'm like, look, man, you just got to trust me. You just, well, we can't, we want to see it on, well, here it is. It's on paper. It's on paper.
It's
Stay
in your
tuned
owner's manual.
to the
And it-
channel.
Nobody reads the owner's manual.
They don't, and it's
And here's
the infotainment now, so it's even better to get to.
Rich's favorite thing.
Yeah. Resetting the battery. When you install a new battery, set the ignition switch on and leave the engine off. Complete steps 2 to 3 within 10 seconds. Flash the high beam 5 times. Ending with the high beams off. Press and release the brake pedal 3 times. The battery warning light flashes 3 times to confirm that the reset is successful. That warning light flashed 3 times. isn't quite like you think, like it's just gonna go blink, blink, blink. Sometimes it's weird. It'll go blink, 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 and it'll be like a weird pattern, but it's 3, and then that's how you know it's reset.
When did they start? When did they start doing this on Fords? I don't work on the late model stuff, so this is all news to me.
So whenever you started seeing on the negative cable, there was a sensor that was plugged in. They used to have an amp clamp that would go around the negative cable, or was it negative or positive, Cody?
Negative.
There used to be an amp clamp that was the earlier model, like, I don't know, let's just call it just for shits and giggles, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 or whatever, whenever they started putting that sensor in on the negative cable where it actually was a plug-in connector at the negative cable itself, you used to be able to reach up there and unplug it, and then you could change your battery or whatever, change the cable out. It was like 15-ish, somewhere in there, where you started seeing it more prevalent, where there was a connector that would plug in to the negative cable itself. That was how you would reset the BMS.
Interesting. So on,
Is by doing the. Go ahead.
I guess somewhere in the mid 2000s, BMW started having the charging schedule as such, where you had to code batteries to the cars, which nobody ever does. And you can't just do it. There's not a sequence in the car. You have to have a bidirectional scan tool. I wish it was like this, but it's a German car. So
go back up, Cody, to the tire rotation thing. This is a conversation we've had in multiple shops that I haven't worked in a lot of shops. I've worked in multiple shops though. If you look at the tire rotation on these, it'll give you a specific way to rotate the tires. But when you actually go work at a dealership, you'll see they actually don't rotate the tires that way. And some of them you see here, like the pattern, it'll say, take the fronts, cross them, take them to the rear, take the rears directly to the front. But a lot of people say, don't even do that. Take the front on one side, put it on the rear, and take the rear on that side, put it in the front, and don't cross it. But all of the owner's manuals say to cross the rears, or no, take the rear straight to the front and cross the fronts and put them on the rear. None of the shops I've ever worked at do that. None of them do. And I actually brought it up when I first started working at this dealership, and I was like, why do you guys not do that? And the service manager was like, just because we don't, because of the way the tires are made. But recently there was a guy that popped up on TikTok that has his own channel, but he commented on mine and he said, that's all a bunch of hogwash with these guys talking about the way, like, it'll be like, what are they called? Radial tires need to stay on the same side and all that. And the guy was like, I actually build tires and I have my own shop and stuff like that. And we have a refurbishing place where we make tractor trailer tires and all kinds of stuff. And we've never had a single issue taking those radial tires and doing exactly what the owner's manual said. We've never had a failure, a blowout, or any of that stuff. And he said, I think a lot of this is what the industry's kind of conjured up over time to justify why they do what they do, and there's no real reason for it.
You want to know why they don't rotate the dually tires like on that graph? See, back in my day, like when I first started busting out tires, when we rotated dually tires, we took the inboard on either side, moved that to the front. Took the front, moved that to the outboard, took the outboard, moved that to the inboard. So you made 2 triangles. Well, we stopped doing that when the trucks came with factory polished aluminum wheels and they put a steely on the inside. Then all of a sudden the entire book on tire rotation was rewritten just to accommodate the shiny wheels.
Yep.
15 quarts of oil now. What? Check that out.
Is that on both the standard and HO?
Yes.
New 6.7, 15 quarts of oil.
Here's your oil viscosities.
Boom,
There's your-
boom, boom.
Are they down to
10W.
0.16?
We got 0.40.
Chart right there.
0W0.
0W0.
But if you look at the Fahrenheit, this is what I often tell people. If you actually read that chart, it shows that if you wanted to, under specific situations like 0W40, it says could go all the way to -20, and the arrow says it keeps going, but it can also go all the way up over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it keeps going. So really, if a guy was to fit in that range and not be outside of that, he could run any one of those as an acceptable range. But the 10W30 is the recommended that most of us have for normal usage.
But
I've
then
done every one of those except 1540. Bleh.
we run 1540 down here, but it's hot most of the time. So
Hey, you don't like 1540?
Not up here and not in 6.7s. Oh Lord, no.
I've not done the 0W40. I've done the rest, but not the 0W40.
Stuff.
Wait, hold on. What was that? Automatic transmission? What? Keep going. Up. Automatic transmission. Oh, gasoline.
18.1.
18 quarts. So ULV, yeah, ULV.
Whoa. Look at this.
Ooh, a new axle. 11.6, huh? Gonna be a Ford axle.
I just talked to a guy today on my one of my subscribers that works at the Ford Sterling plant. I think they do the Sterling axle installs on the Super Duties and stuff like that.
Yep.
I sent him a and if any of you guys are interested, go back and look at my video on my channel or whatever. We have a bunch of
Alexa.
WeatherTech floor liners that are a few years old that the parts manager said, look, some of these are like for the rear mat on some of the Super Duties and F-150s they cross. I think it's like 17 and 18 or 16 and 17 and 18 or something like that. I sent one out today. It's like $110, $115 mat. We sold it to the guy for like $35 and I shipped it out for $28 to him. So, you know, we have a bunch of WeatherTech stuff. So if any of you guys have F-150s or Focuses or Fiestas, or your wife has any, you guys need some of the WeatherTech stuff, look at the video and I can ship it out to you if we have it for like next to nothing.
I need some for an 07 Mariner.
You don't have any of those.
Well, yes. I need some for an 07
Yes.
Mariner.
Locating the auxiliary switch wiring. Is that in the front?
That is in the
Looks
front
like
corner.
it's in the corner right by that.
No way.
About time they make them easy to find.
Oh, am I thinking, is that the right front?
Right front.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, look at this. They even give you what they are. Amazing how that works.
Does it say anything about pass-through wires?
Oh, there's a Upfitter video switch.
Click on it. What the heck is this?
Wait, scroll before you click that. Oh, we've seen that. It's on YouTube.
Oh, hold on. Let me give you
It's an
sound.
old video.
Let me give you. Oh, you should have sound.
Hold on. Let me make
Yeah, you
sure.
gotta put sound on.
Share with sound.
There you go.
I know how to do this. I
That
do
video's
all the time.
You
You may be interested to know that your vehicle may be equipped with an enhanced Upfitter switchboard to help power your upfit component needs. Let me explain. For your convenience, built-in Upfitter switches have been moved to the overhead console for easy access. Plus, we've increased the number of switches from 4 to 6. So now you have more capability to control components such as winches, electric spreaders, lights, and more. To help power your upfit needs, we've increased the circuit capacity over the previous generation. There are now 4 25 amp circuits, plus 2 40 amp circuits, which can be configured to be hot at all times. So you don't need to have the vehicle running for power. In order to convert the 40 amp relays to key off battery use, there are a few steps you'll need to take. First, you'll need to locate the relay box under the engine hood next to the driver's side fender, here. Then remove the relay cover by pressing the tab and lifting it off. Next, locate the 5 amp fuse. You'll then need to pull it out, slide the spacer over, and place it so the left prong is in the far left slot and the right prong is in the middle slot. Replace the cover and your 40 amp circuits are now set to run on battery power even with the key out of the truck. Keep in mind, to help remind you when power is flowing through the switch, it will remain illuminated to let you know it's on. Any questions? Go to owner.ford.com.
Well,
Yeah.
son of a bean.
Well, what's
Oh,
interesting is
cool.
they don't actually list all the features. They leave out the 20 volt hot at all times, the 20 volt hot when the key is on. Yeah, it's a couple other features too that they just don't mention or have labeled.
What up, Fred? Thanks, buddy.
Control F.
The music was awesome. Bill Nye, the truck guy. Bill.
And the good thing about that
6.7.
owner's manual being through the radio is you just type in keywords and it will find it for you. It's pretty smart.
Oh, right through the infotainment?
Yeah, so like I
Oh,
went
wow.
to, I had like a 21 or 22 or where the window was starting to act up, it was bouncing back. And they had went to another dealer and the other dealer couldn't figure it out. Well, they came to our dealer and I said, well, why didn't you just reset it with the hold button down and then all the way up, hold button up? And it talks about it right through your owner's manual on the screen. You can reset it that way. And they were like, what? I could have did this at home. And I was like, yeah, if you read your
Yeah.
owner's manual, it shows
Yeah.
you how to reset the window position. And I showed them how to do it. I just typed in window and then it popped up all the window categories. And I was like, see, there it is. Everything that talks about your window is right there in front of you.
Ford Protect. Scheduled maintenance.
Which, if you guys are going to get a 23, I'd highly advise you, if you're going to get wheel and tire care, to remember that that is done at point of sale. You cannot go back after the fact and get wheel and tire care. So if you guys are going to think about or want that, make sure to do that when you sign the deal.
I remember they were talking about maybe doing some longer maintenance intervals. I know they increased the capacity of the oil.
Oh
I
yes,
wonder
it's
what they're saying.
longer.
They're going a little longer on maintenance.
Oh yeah. I don't
How
recommend
much?
it, but
How crazy are they going
I think it's like 15,000
on the
But
diesel?
we
On-
ain't gonna, we
on
ain't gonna do that.
on the little gauge on the dash. It's gonna say about 15,000 before the light comes on.
Oh, the
Far.
That's
That
way
light.
too far.
Way too far.
You know what I'd like to see them do though is what Dodge did back in the day with hitting the cruise control on, and then as soon
Yeah.
as it goes on, it automatically jumps up to like 1200 RPM. So those guys that are going to be idling it, increase.
Here you
know,
go,
the high idle
actually.
switch is all built into the cruise control.
Protecting your investment.
Mm-hmm.
There it
Okay,
is.
what are they saying?
15,000
Why
miles.
maintain?
1 year,
Right there.
15,000 miles.
That seems excessive.
15,000 miles. 1 year, 15,000 miles. Yeah, when the oil change meshes appears.
Oh, I don't
Now they
agree
have
with
a
that,
new
man.
filter. They got a new filter out, and they've got a new. They have a higher capacity.
I don't think so. Not for me.
Yeah, I'd rather change
Oh.
oil than change an engine, but you know.
Oh, look at this. They're telling you 1 quart every 500 miles. What?
Yeah, you think anybody's actually going to check their oil level?
Hell no.
That's
What's that?
That's also
Well,
what
They are
That's
now because
also-
this has got an oil level sensor in it.
Oh,
They'll
for
just
real?
also
tape
what-
over it. Yeah, they'll put pictures.
that's
and
also
tape
what
over it.
GM just went to
Yeah.
as well. I was talking to one of the GM techs and I said, we were just kind of shooting the crap because he dropped one of his cars off at the shop, his father's car, and he wanted to get the engine replaced for coolant intrusion. And he wanted the new updated 1.5 liter put in. So we did that. And I said, so what's up with your guys' like oil consumption, man? It's through the roof on these new like 5.3s and 6.0s and 6.2s. And he said, yeah, did you see the new oil consumption bulletin they put out? I said, yeah, it's like a quart every 1,000 miles. And he said, no, they on the tech side, they've updated it again. It's like 1 quart every 500 miles. I was like, come on, man, there's no way. And he was like, yeah, it's ridiculous now.
And how do they
I mean-
expect the vehicle to meet emissions doing that?
Well, my
Yeah.
question too is, nobody checks the oil, and they're
They
going to
don't
drive it
check it.
to oil changes. So if it holds 4 quarts and it goes 5,000 miles on oil changes, and it burns a
You
quart of
got
oil
no
every
oil.
500 miles.
Oh, look at this.
Well, now they're going 15,000. It's really going to be an issue.
Oh,
Vehicles
yeah.
operating in Middle East, North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, blah, 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 blah. They want you changing at 3,000 miles.
Wow, that's a little different.
Hey,
So
what is
three-
that,
Maybe
So
it's
three-
more expensive for an engine there. Who knows?
Cody, what is that? What is that thing right there on the top right that says new or remanufactured part at 250,000 miles? The diesel particulate filter may need to be replaced at over
Wow.
time.
Yep.
Wow.
At
So they're actually
$250,000
telling you that that's probably going to be a serviceable part at 250,000 miles. It's going to have to be changed.
Now, if they had that cab chassis set up and have that congruent through all configurations or some type of, there would be an easier way for somebody to one, remove it, stick it in the kiln, and then
Maybe.
you're not cutting it and off and welding it back together and having to put it in a jig and making sure it's clocked right. Just definitely a pain in the butt.
Well, if it's easier to come off, then people are going to steal them. So they're not going to do that.
That's true.
What's
That's true.
that 30,000? Every 30,000 miles, replace the front wheel bearing grease. Replace front wheel bearing grease seals if non-sealed bearings are used.
Like two-wheel drive trucks.
Spark plugs every 60,000 miles. I recommend that anyway, especially in boosted applications before then.
Dusty.
Engine
I mean, this
filter.
literally tells you how to service your vehicle. It's like,
Yep.
they actually have the stamp places in here too.
Oh, wow. I remember that from Fast Lube back in the day.
Yeah, dealer stamp.
Like, do we still have the Bill Brown stamp?
I don't even think we
No.
have this stamp anymore.
Oh, wow, look at them things.
There's
That's
just a
kinda
ton of them.
That's kind of cool, though.
Warning.
Rollover
cool.
warning.
Yes, Florida is like apricot. Apricot, hot.
So if you're in a hot climate, you may as well just start changing it every 5 to 10,000 miles.
They said 3.
Yeah, well, Africa being like, what are they like?
Yeah.
115 to 120 degrees there.
Maybe it's a
Oh,
fuel
look,
thing.
one touch window diagnostics.
Bink.
Yeah.
Did you know you can open or close your window all the way without having to hold the button down? Here are a few simple steps on how to use it. To open your window all the way, press the switch down firmly and let go. To open it just a little, press it lightly and let go when you want it to stop. To close your window all the way, firmly pull up on the switch and let go.
Oh,
To close it partway,
wow.
pull up lightly and let go.
I bet these play
If you
in
have a
the
low
truck.
battery, you may
If
find that your
you
window
click on the
closes,
link.
then immediately opens part of the way on its own.
Those
If this
batteries-
Hey,
happens,
like,
you'll need to
Working
reset the
on it? Are you
system.
sitting on?
First,
Yeah,
make
I
sure
bet-
your window is closed all the
I
way.
bet it's in the owner's
Then
manual
pull and
too.
hold the window switch
Does it
up
come
for
with
2
a
seconds.
cassette too?
and
That you
repeat
pop in
that
the
2-second
radio
hold.
and you listen to it while you drive?
There's the
Your windows
reset.
also have a bounce back feature.
There's
If you're
the
closing a
reset right
window
there.
and it senses something in the way, it will automatically stop. That way, no one gets hurt and nothing gets stuck. Keep in mind, if you continuously open and close your windows in a short period of time, it may cause your window to be temporarily disabled. Also, if you press the window switch quickly from the first to second position, it can cause your window to be temporarily disabled. If this
It can be
happens, release the
totally
switch,
disabled.
wait a moment, then press it again. Oh, and remember, touching the switch at all while the window is opening or closing will stop it. Any questions? Go to FordOwner.com.
That's a lot of function in a window.
It
Yeah.
talked about the reset. It talked about the reset right there for holding it for 2 seconds. And then it talked about if the battery's low, it could cause it to malfunction as well.
23 F350. I can't wait to see one. I can't wait to get my hands on one. I want to see underneath the hood. We have some big things coming to the channel. We found out finally the part number for the new absorbent glass mat batteries that are on our 23. So I'm really excited. I think I'm going to cop a couple of them. Going to talk about them. Going to show the difference between them. If you guys are paying attention to the slides up here, the battery junction box, it looks like it's a little easier to get to. I don't know, DS, if we're going to have problems with water draining from the cowl right on top of it. Hopefully
Yeah,
they've.
we are.
Are we?
It's still in
That
the same
sucks.
stem spot.
Damn.
Now, if it's the same format, I don't know if we can ask the guys now or not. I've cut a template out on, I was actually going to build a bunch of prototypes and send them out to some guys that want them. I was going to build a few trays that go right there above that fuse box to route the water away from it, that can nicely tuck and dress up to your cowl and everything like that. So when the water runs down, it drains off into the tray and redirects it out front of everything. And I was actually going to buy like a what do they call those printers? Those like the
3D printers?
3D printer.
the 3D printers after I get my final like mold done, and 3D print a few of them, like send one to Aaron and send one to DS, and they should work on the F-150s and the Super Duties. They're about the same design. And I was going to make
I
a
want
bunch
it.
of them and send them out.
I want one.
Lithium, baby. Well, I think
Oh,
we're gonna end it
hold
here.
One last thing.
We're gonna talk about a lot more 23 stuff coming up. These networks are just gonna be so crazy
So
to even start diagnosing. I'll tell you that.
anything with a yes is going to be updatable over the air.
Oh wow.
So that's
ABS
because
module over the air.
Does it
Yep.
say PCM?
yes, PCM is over there.
No kidding. What about RCM? Oh wow.
AB swap or ABA swap.
Oh,
Is
the
that less work
TCM
for
can't
you
though. That's
guys?
kind of weird.
Cruise control. Can you imagine being in cruising somewhere, having cruise control set, and a freaking update comes in? I know it wouldn't.
But this is it's only able because we now have Ethernet for communications now.
Gateway and Ethernet hookups. This is getting really weird. So I'll leave you with some comments. Do a weekly fuel check-in if you can. Let me know what fuel is. Let me know if you have a 23 on order. Hopefully it's going to get built. Hopefully you're not going to be waiting a year or more for it. But nonetheless, let us know. I appreciate you guys stopping through. Till next time, Rain Man, Ford Boss, Eric Berg, Bearded Ford Tech, DS is out. CPG.